Hasan Piker of the internet, who appeared with them on Saturday for a Get Out the Vote rally in Trenton. A newly formed pro-Palestinian political action committee, American Priorities, has spent more than $1.5 million on ads that highlight Dr. Hamoudi's work and dwarfs the campaign budgets of every other candidate. His critics have been trying with growing urgency to highlight an earlier part of Dr. Hamoudi's history, a gap year the future surgeon spent between graduating 500, 600 people.
I'm honored to be here in front of all of you wonderful people to hopefully make the necessary changes that we want to see here in Congress by supporting Dr. Adam Hamoudi.
Crowd size? Yeah.
I'm honored to be here in front of all of you wonderful people.
I've never seen him do something and not be actively streaming it, lol. I mean, yeah, I do things while I'm not streaming. Like, I do things offline as well. This was one of those things.
Hopefully make the necessary changes that we want to see here in Congress by supporting Dr. Adam Hamoudi.
Electric. It was electric. Like gaming, Haas mods. Okay, maybe. Not really, but okay. Mr. Piker, what happened to yesterday's stream bot? I deleted it on purpose for you in particular. I didn't even know. I don't know. I don't know why I got lasered. Maybe it was Jubilee. Okay? I don't know. Wake up, Kyrie, praise you. Should be lit as now. I know. So, the rally was great. Chris Rabb was there. Hung out with him. Hung out with the dude that used to work in the State Department under the Biden administration who quit, if you remember, and went on Christian Amanpour's broadcast. Talked to him. He's like a big advocate for Palestinians now. Bro, stop making the East Coast the coolest place in the country. We need to make the West Coast better. I mean, dude, I'm going to work on it. That's my next... Well, I'm going to work my way in the same way that the original settlers did, right? First, you go northeast. You go East Coast first. You know, New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and the like. And then you start moving slowly to the south. Okay? And then... slowly but surely, you go to the Midwest and you start expanding the operation. So that's my goal: is east to west. California being the cherry on the top. California being the icing and the cherry. Why did I know you were gonna make this joke? What the? Yeah. How does the rotisserie chicken survive without you, Kaya? Fairly well. Yeah, we're doing manifest. Instead of manifest destiny, we're manifesting socialism, okay? Which is the opposite of manifest destiny. There's a new Fox news story on your new for me. Scratch the surface and you quickly discover the origin story of the humanitarian aid convoy to Cuba has its roots in Vermont with Bernie Sanders and ties in Cuba to the Fidel Castro family. Yeah, this is now they're coming after David Adler. Okay? They're cooking David Adler, my goat, from Progressive International now. That's the Adler's organization, Progressive International Council, Raul Castro's daughter, Maria de Castro Espin, on its advisory council. Federal subpoenas target Piker and co. Pinks Medea Benjamin for travel, communications, and financial records tied to possible contacts to Cuban government entities. The convoy brought an estimated 650 delegates from 33 countries to Havana in March. Twitch streamer Hasan Piker called Progressive International coordinator David Adler his comrade on livestream, the same organizer who sat in the VIP seat beside Cuba's president during the convoy trip, now under federal investigation for possible sanctions violations. They're doing this thing where they're like slow rolling. They're doing this thing where they are slow rolling information that is readily available and public, and totally legal. But they're hitting a but it's communist. So therefore bad. You know? That's what they're doing. They literally are just like describing, regular organizing and then going, but this is communist style organizing, where they use terms like comrade. Shouldn't you be spooked by that? Isn't that scary? Anyway, yeah, it's a very funny way to frame stuff. I mean, a lot of people do this, obviously, famously. Yeah, and they're cooking. What the fuck is this? They're cooking our boy David. How a Rhodes Scholar with ties to Cuba's president organized a convoy that brought Hasan Piker to Havana. There he is, David in all his glory. Real stud. They just straight up are like, no, we're the bad guys. This is the bad guy brigade. It's very funny. They're like, We're the bad guys. You're supposed to be bad. Like, we as the defenders of the government are the bad guys, undisputed bad guys. And if you do good guy things, like deliver humanitarian aid to a country that the bad guys are destroying, then you're bad. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's like this is the whole shtick. Apparently you got a mention in this New York Times article too. Wait, what the hell? I thought I was already, do I not have a New York Times? I usually, what the heck? Did I get signed out of my New York Times subscription? That's crazy. All right, well, we need a paywall remover now for New York Times as well. I got a shout out in this article. Let's go. Look at your $10 million smile from the Hamoudi event. Face of a guy knows he's about to help elect another unbought progressive who wants money for healthcare and not wars. God damn, I was cheesing, bro. I was freaking cheesing. Rhodes had a podcast with Mark Blythe talking about how badly American capitalism is shitting the bed. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, New York Times picked up the story. It started as Hasbro slop. Okay. Please enable JS and disable any app blocker. What the fuck is going on, man? Come on, just work, man. Just work. God damn it. Just work. Why can't anything work ever? Everything is broken. What is happening? Okay. A candidate's past ties to a militant cleric are resurfacing in a New Jersey House race. Yeah, so this is nasty. Okay, so the New York Times is basically working in tandem by even covering this with this framing. Is doing a very nasty thing. Okay, so we talk, but this is like the last minute hit piece that came from Jewish Insider that basically was like, oh, Dr. Adam Hamoudi, he did humanitarian work all around the world, including in Bosnia, and one of the organizations, I guess, had ties to the blind Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman. And it's so ridiculous to say this about like a decorated army combat medic who literally saved Tammy Duckworth's life. You know what I mean? Like, Dr. Adam Hamoudi has worked in combat zones, both as an army combat medic and also as a doctor, like separately from that. He's done aid missions in Bosnia and also Gaza. Specifically in Gaza twice. And Jewish Insider is trying to turn him into a terrorist. Yeah, and this was their big scoop. Big scoop, Jewish Insider via Will Brederman. Leading New Jersey Dem congressional candidate Adam Hamoudi volunteered with Al-Qaeda-tied group in Bosnia. Hamoudi worked with Benevolence International Foundation, later shuttered as an Al-Qaeda front. Yeah, for two things that are really stupid here, okay? Two things that are really stupid here. Number one, America, in that conflict, in that genocide, was on the side of the Muslims. Just a little reductive to explain it as such, but like the Muslims were the ones being slaughtered, so I don't even understand how this could ever be a story, but they're still trying it regardless, where they're like, hey, this guy who was a first responder at 9/11. This guy who was in Bosnia, like trying to sew kids back together, and in Gaza doing the same, who also literally saved Tammy Duckworth's life, cherished, celebrated combat medic. This doctor is actually a bad guy. He's Muslim, and therefore, Al-Qaeda, maybe? Does that mean Bill Clinton has ties to Al-Qaeda? Yes, that's what that means. But, so Jewish Insider doing this article is one thing. Okay? Jewish Insider doing this article is one thing. But the New York Times posting it like this is nasty. Okay? Adam Hamoudi, a plastic surgeon, a U.S. Army veteran whose parents emigrated from Egypt when he was 7 months old, is running for Congress as a healer of sorts. He's traveled on humanitarian missions in conflict zones, including Gaza. And he's put the issue of healthcare at the center of his campaign for New Jersey's 12th congressional district, saying that money spent on war should be instead used for universal Medicare coverage. And they hate that. Okay? People hate that. When you say, hey, we shouldn't be spending money on bombs, we should be spending money on our healthcare, people go, what are you, an anti-Semite? What are you, Adolf Hitler? Are you kidding me? And you're like, what? No, I just want healthcare for people in the richest country on the planet. I think this is doable. And they go, wow, you are literally the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. You're worse than Adolf Hitler, actually. Adolf Hitler would be shocked at your deep resentment towards Jewish people. You should be imprisoned. Anyway, Adam responds, I go to disaster areas, and that's where I'm needed now. Dr. Hamoudi said in an interview referring to Capitol Hill, he has emerged as a frontrunner in the extraordinarily crowded race to fill the seat being vacated by retiring Representative Bonnie Watson-Coleman. At one point, 17 Democrats were in the mix. The field has since dwindled to a mere dozen, including a well-known former leader of the state's Working Families Alliance, a state assemblywoman, 2 mayors, a patent lawyer, the owner of a chain of fitness studios, and a Princeton University neuroscientist with expertise in gerrymandering. The winner of Tuesday's election will be heavily favored to win in November. Dr. Hamoudi has led the race for campaign cash and has landed endorsements from such left-wing luminaries as Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Hasan Piker of the Internet. Hasan Piker of the Internet, who appeared with them on Saturday for a Get Out the Vote rally in Trenton. A newly formed pro-Palestinian political action committee, American Priorities, has spent more than $1.5 million on ads that highlight Dr. Hamoudi's work dwarfs the campaign budgets of every other candidate. His critics have been trying with growing urgency to highlight an earlier part of Dr. Hamoudi's history, a gap year the future surgeon spent between graduating from Rutgers University, New Brunswick in 1991 and entering the university's medical school the next year. It was then that Dr. Hamoudi began spending time with Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman, a blind militant Islamist who lived and preached in New Jersey. 4 years later, Mr. Abdul Rahman will be tried and convicted of inspiring the violence that contributed to the 1993 World Trade Center bomb. He died in 2017 while serving a life sentence. During Mr. Abdul Rahman's trial in 1995, Dr. Hamoudi, then 26, was called as a defensive witness by the Sheikh's lawyers as they tried to undermine the federal government's star witness, Ahmad Salam, who was paid $1 million by federal officials while working as an informant and also admitted to lying under oath. Mr. Salam had testified during that road trip to Detroit the Sheikh had encouraged him to kill former President of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak. Prosecutors had also charged Mr. Abdul Rahman with being at the center of blah, blah, blah. It's all this shit about the Black Sheikh, right? Dr. Hamoudi, who traveled in a van with the 2 men, testified that he did not recall hearing Mr. Abdul Rahman say that to Mr. Salem. In the course of his testimony, he also told jurors that he helped the blind cleric translate a fax from Egypt in 1993, spent time in his apartment, and listened to him speak at area mosques. Dr. Hamoudi, who is now 56, was never accused of wrongdoing, except we're going to imply that he is. Okay? Do you see what this is? It's like he wasn't actually accused of any wrongdoing, and he has an incredible history. Okay? Literally 9/11 first responder. Okay? Went to Bosnia, went to Gaza. Like, and would you look at that, folks? Actually, this guy, he's bad. I'll have you know, this guy that you think is good, well, what if he was bad, actually? Okay? You might have thought that this guy who saved the life of Tammy Duckworth, okay, as an Army combat medic, what if you were to assume he's a bad guy instead? I'll have you know he is Muslim. Just so you understand, he is very Muslim. He's very Muslim style. Okay? Dr. Hamoudi, who's 56, was never accused of wrongdoing and went on to serve with distinction as an Army combat surgeon during the Iraq War, where he helped save the life of U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, a Democrat who has also endorsed him. On September 11, 2001, like his background sounds insane. Okay? He literally is like Captain America. But the problem is, Captain America is not supposed to be a brown Muslim guy. Okay? That's the problem. He's literally there. Anytime there is disaster taking place, he's there with his hands trying to heal people. And these guys still find a fucking way. Like when you're a Muslim American, it doesn't even fucking matter. Like there is no comparison with his background. If he was a white guy, they would be like, when do we make him president? Okay? Can you imagine? Instead of Adam Hamoudi, his name was, I don't know, Adam Handsome, okay? And he's a white guy from Kentucky with this fucking background, okay? And he was related to some church group or something, right? When he was like 26 years old. And the church group was involved in something else, right? Like the church group was involved in like nefarious dealings or whatever, right? And were prosecuted by the government. That's also ridiculous. Stuff rarely ever happens. But then he went on to join the fucking army as a combat surgeon during the Iraq War, saved the life of a senator was there at ground zero on 9/11 as a first responder and then went to Gaza. Like, it's just not even a question. People will be like, dude, I know the Gaza stuff is the main reason why these guys are so aggressive, right? Because if he was doing all that and he was pro-Israel, these articles would not be getting written about him. But I just want you to imagine, like, what an attempt of this sort looks like when the person that we're talking about is white. Anyway, let's continue. On September 11, 2001, he and other residents in New York Presbyterian went to Ground Zero to treat those injured in the second terror attack on the World Trade Center. Andrew C. McCarthy, the lead prosecutor of Mr. Abdurrahman's trial, and Michael B. Mukasey, the federal judge who oversaw the case and later served as President George W. Bush's attorney general, published essays earlier this month reminding readers of Dr. Hamoudi's link to the infamous cleric Mr. McCarthy. Writing for the National Review, referred to Mr. Hamoudi as a sympathizer. Mr. Mukasey described Dr. Hamoudi as more than a casual traveling companion of the Sheikh. Dr. Hamoudi said his life's work disproves the guilt by association innuendo. I've spent my life really saving lives rather than taking them, he said, while campaigning in Trenton the day the essays were published. I'm against all war and all violence, he said. An aide said Dr. Hamoudi had no contact with Mr. Abdurrahman after his arrest. Dr. Hamoudi has distanced himself from the Sheikh on the campaign trail, saying, I condemn his violent rhetoric and actions. When pressed on what had motivated him to travel Mr. Abdurrahman as a younger man, Dr. Hamoudi downplayed the cleric's reputation for fiery rhetoric, calling him a blind old man who was dependent on volunteers from the Muslim community to care for him. He wasn't preaching death and destruction all the time, Dr. Hamoudi added. He had certain views that he spoke in certain forms, but that's not what he did every single day. On the witness stand, however, Dr. Hamoudi made clear he understood that the Sheikh saw Israel and the United States as enemies of Islam. When asked if he recalled the cleric stating that Muslims had to do jihad against the enemies of Islam, he said he did. Of course, that's what he always talked about, Dr. Hamoudi testified. He talked about jihad. 3 decades later, Dr. Hamoudi does not shy away from criticizing Israel and the U.S. military aid. Oh, he's doing Islamic-style infiltration. Thank you, New York Times. Again, isn't this article actually positive? Fuck no. Are you not? Dog. This is the New York Times in the least subtle way possible saying, Dr. Adam Hamoudi, do not look at his incredible reputation as a lifesaver, okay? A guy who threw his body on the line his entire life. Do not look at that. Look at the fact that he's criticizing Israel and America Islamically. He is, in some ways, following through on the promise of the blind sheik. That's basically what they're fucking saying. I mean, they also say positive things about him? No. No, my friend. They're not saying positive things about him. They're just having to, as the paper of record, accurately reflect on his background in an article that is written literally to accuse him of doing 9/11 pretty much, instead of, being a person who went into the rubble to fucking be a first responder and save people's lives during 9/11. That other stuff is just an admission of the truth, and you kind of have to do that. But you do that to downplay all of his achievements and all of his humanitarian aid work by associating it with this Islamic-style jihadist patina. It's one of the grossest things I have ever seen. Oh, my God. We are not supposed to be selling weapons, any kind of weapons, to any country that's breaking international humanitarian law that is committing a genocide or atrocities, he told Mr. Piker, a leftist streamer who's been criticized by some Democrats in an April interview. It's like giving a bully body armor to go bully people some more, Dr. Hamoudi said, of U.S. support for Israel's defensive weapons. We need to be able to have them feel the effects of war, and then they'll stop, and they'll actually have a conversation. Adrian Mapp, the mayor of Plainfield, is also running for the 12th district seat, and has sought to draw a connection between Dr. Hamoudi's positions on Israel and his past association with Mr. Abdurrahman. The association with the blind sheik was very telling, and it speaks to the character of an individual who is associated with an unsavory character, Mr. Mapp said. We ought to ask the question about the affiliation and what it says about the American people about a person who seeks to be a representative of Congress in the United States of America. Mr. Mapp noted that he does not blame Dr. Hamoudi for his pro-Palestine stance. The Palestinian people need to be treated in a more humane fashion, he said. But he said he stood by his statement in Insider New Jersey that Dr. Hamoudi's views were those of a radical extremist. Yeah, Dr. Hamoudi's views are those of a radical extremist, folks. Why are they of those of a radical extremist, mind you? Because he has the overwhelming majority position on Israel, that Israel is committing a genocide. He has the overwhelming position on Israel that we have to put an end to said genocide. Unbelievable work, dude. Yeah, his positions are that of a radical is crazy. Yeah, here's also some additional information on this. It was only a matter of time before the sensible center-right would start attacking people for caring about the Bosnian genocide. Beyond the fact that the Benevolence International Foundation got outed only in 1995 as being an Al-Qaeda front group, the Clinton White House actually praised the Benevolence International Foundation's work in 1994, the same year Hamoudi interned with them in Sarajevo. Hamoudi literally treated 9/11 first responders. You can only think he's an Al-Qaeda sleeper agent. Hilarious to imagine if you know anything about the current status of Al-Qaeda. If you just hate Muslims, which notably, yeah, Jesse from the Manhattan Institute, one of my main ops, as you guys know, says the people who are up in arms over genocide Josh Shapiro doing mandatory community service at an Israeli army base involving no military activity while volunteering on a kibbutz farm and a fishery in high school are now very upset over the suggestion that another Democratic politician who traveled abroad with an Islamist jihadist militant who spent life in prison for terrorism and seditious conspiracy to work for an Al-Qaeda front might actually be an actual terrorist. Dude, I'm sorry. You have to literally be the most Islamophobic person on the fucking planet. I don't even think the average American would look at this association and be like, yeah, no, this guy is bad news. Again, all you need to do is Tammy Duckworth. All you need to do is point to literally 9/11 and be like, oh, really? So you think this guy is an Al-Qaeda militant? The guy who fucking, who had no care or consideration for his own life, okay, who treated 9/11 first responders, okay? The guy who, again, as an army combat medic, saved the lives of many in the military, and most famously, Tammy fucking Duckworth. Like, that's insane. Also, Josh Shapiro straight up worked for the Israeli embassy. That's the reason why people ask him if he ever did espionage for a foreign country. So, you know, don't downplay that either, big dog. Yeah, he was playing the long game, dude. He was gonna fucking install the Islamic Caliphate, playing the motherfucking wrong game. A long game, sorry, not wrong game, for 40 plus years. It's just so ridiculous. It's nasty business. This kind of smearing is just nasty business, dude. The times after you in the UK, brother, saying your visa should be revoked. I know. God forbid you have the majority position on Israel, okay? God forbid. You can't do that. Will ruin your fucking life. I find his statements quite frankly to be inflammatory to accuse the Jewish state of Israel of a genocide, the mayor said. Yeah, that's not a radical extremist position, you fucking idiot. That's the overwhelming majority position, you fucking idiot. Oh God, these people are so stupid. Oh my God. Vincent Vertuccio, a spokesman for Dr. Hamoudi, called it disappointing that a Democratic opponent would stoop to echoing right-wing MAGA smears. Most of Dr. Hamoudi's opponents have left his past alone, but 2 of the 10 other Democratic candidates, Chanel Robinson and Brad Cohen, also told the Jewish Insider that his association with Mr. Abdulrahman raised questions in an article that was published on Friday. As a fellow veteran, I truly appreciate Adam's service to his country, and I know that it speaks to his patriotism, Ms. Robinson, a Somerset County commissioner, told the publication, but the voters will judge us on our entire adult lives, the choices we have made, and the people we associate with, regardless of whether it was 30 days ago or 30 years ago. The whole matter is of concern, Mr. Cohen, a gynecologist and a mayor of East Brunswick, said in an interview. It's an association with a terrorist. Dr. Hamoudi suggests that any criticism of his trial testimony was linked to Islamophobia. As a Muslim, they're always going to find something to attack, he said. I'm used to this all my life. How Dr. Hamoudi fares in Tuesday's primary election might serve as the latest gauge of what kinds of rhetoric resonates with Democratic voters in New Jersey when it comes to Israel. Earlier this year, in a race for governor, Mickey Sherrill's old seat in the neighboring 11th district, Analilia Mejia was the only candidate in the contest that called the war in Gaza a genocide. She won her February primary against Tom Malinowski, a fellow Democrat who had been the target of negative advertising by a pro-Israel group after refusing to rule out placing conditions on U.S. military aid to that country, and then beat her Republican opponent in a landslide. Dr. Hamoudi's showing on Tuesday might also shed light on whether a figure such as Mr. Abdulrahman, whose trial happened before some voters were alive, still looms in the minds of New Jersey Democrats in 2026. The sheik appeared to be far from the minds of the voters as Dr. Hamoudi campaigned earlier this month in Trenton and a Princeton University's forum sponsored by Young Democratic Socialists of America. Ricky Sanford, a retired Metropolitan Transportation Authority bus driver, had never met Dr. Hamoudi before the candidate knocked on the door of his Trenton brownstone. He said he was mainly concerned about the cost of living candidates and candidates' willingness to take on President Trump. He don't mind going toe-to-toe against Mr. Trump, Mr. Sanford said. I like that part. Yep. Voters are like, I don't give a shit about some fucking blind sheik, dude. What are you talking about? You're talking to a decorated combat medic, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Seriously, what are we talking about? It's so crazy how, like, it's, God damn it. This is what I mean when I say, like, if you're Muslim, you just, oh, fuck. Not to do any goddamn idpol here, but it is genuinely insane to watch this kind of shit unfold, okay? If you're Muslim, And on top of that, God forbid you got to take on Israel that the majority also believes, the majority also understands is the truth because it is the truth. What the fuck? You've been blocked from New York Times because we suspect that you're a robot. Why am I a robot? I'm not a robot. Are there any comments on that article? I can't see. Yeah. Exposed. I am a robot. The Sheik appeared to be on the minds. What is this? People want something different. Miss Walpin, 73, said of the Democratic Party outside of Dr. Hamoudi's campaign office in Trenton. They want fierceness in the fight. Louise Walpin, a Democrat, is Jewish and politically active. She lives in South Brunswick, New Jersey, and said she'd been a supporter of Dr. Hamoudi since hearing him speak at a forum months ago and does not interpret his criticism of Israel to be anti-Semitic. Anyway, fantastic stuff overall. I don't think it's going to work. But it is really, really frustrating to see people still try to do this shit because it's disheartening. Okay? It is like it's 2026, man. And if you can do this to a guy like Adam Hamoudi, I mean, you can do this to any fucking Muslim, right? They tried to do this with Zoran too. It sucks. Thank you for sharing a gift link with the Grand Platinum one. Yeah, we got Grand Platinum, who apparently is a dog, and we'll talk about that too. Yeah, they're pulling the Cuomo move against Zoran, connecting him to the Sheik. Yeah, and me, which is, again, the Zoran method, which failed, by the way. Yeah, Will Brederman is the one who was, like, blasting this. But what Dropsite doesn't seem to understand is that the federal evidence proffer doesn't present this as a fact. It's a description of how Benevolence International Foundation represented its own operations as a part of deception. This administration below is even more scandalous from Jewish Insider. The reporter of the psychotic article now acknowledges he knew about the government document that described 1994 visit by a U.S. envoy under President Bill Clinton to a BIF office in Sudan who praised BIF in its efforts to provide humanitarian relief. Yet he left that out. Linking to a giant court document doesn't count, so that he could leave the impression that Adam Hamoudi is somehow linked to Al-Qaeda. To have that information in your possession, but not include it in the article, is deliberate and malicious. He left it out for one obvious reason, because any reader would conclude, oh, if a White House envoy did not know this organization was used then, or would be used later as a front for Al-Qaeda, then of course a doctor who volunteered fresh out of medical school for a few weeks obviously would not know either. And then you have no story. Including this exculpatory information undercuts the entire piece, which is why it deserves not just an update, but a retraction. There could have been an interesting article to write about this volunteer trip and this organization that a decade later was exposed as a front. But what Jewish Insider wanted was to smear Army veteran and combat surgeon as a terrorist. Really foul. Yeah, AIPAC is also aggressively swinging at Ryan Grimm and Dropsite, which has been very funny. Part of an orchestrated campaign to single out and demonize individual pro-Israel Americans for supporting candidates of their choice. A level of scrutiny not applied to any other group of citizens, and is tolerated and celebrated by leaders who claim to want a big tent. Okay? This is directly about Dropsite. They're responding to David Weigel talking about Dropsite and Lever and Zeteo and the like. Okay? AIPAC complaining of a level of scrutiny not applied to any other group of citizens. Let's be precise. No other interest group, not crypto, not AI, not big oil, etc., hides its money in shell packs. They all spend through packs that are transparently linked to their interest group. AIPAC and its major donors are alone in the opposite practice. So that is why reporters have to investigate it so that voters can know who they are backing. The other option would be to just be honest and transparent from the jump. Why not do that? Because remember, crypto packs, AI PAC, or like different organizations, different political action committees will just straight up say, this is sponsored by, insert crypto PAC, right? AIPAC doesn't do that because AIPAC knows that it has to actually hide under shell corporations and, create colorful new names like elect progressive women in Chicago. That's literally one of the subsidiaries that they've utilized in the Illinois races, right? According to AIPAC, being pro-Israel is good policy and good politics. Their offshoot DMFI, Democratic Majority for Israel, even claims there is a Democratic majority for Israel. If that's true, spend money openly, endorse candidates openly, and let voters decide. If you refuse to do that, we will keep following the money and letting people know of who you support. If it's true that being pro-Israel is good politics, we're doing you a favor. To which AIPAC replied with, are we unique or are you just uniquely obsessed with us? At Grok, compare how many stories/posts Ryan Grimm has written about AIPAC versus stories of how far-left groups like Justice Democrats and Working Families Party rely on billionaires, dark money transfers, and contributions from C4s. Justice Democrats and Working Families Party put their names on their ads and disclose their donors. They don't leave much room for investigation. If you do the same, I'll stop chasing your shell packs. AIPAC said, we're going to grok it. AIPAC said, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy. I'm going to chat GPT it. I'm going to grok it. The entire point of contention here is not that AIPAC funds a lot of races. Everybody knows that, okay? The point of contention here that requires additional journalism and additional investigation is the fact that AIPAC uses shell groups that don't have Israel anywhere in its name. Okay? That's the point. They use shell groups to hide in this completely non-transparent manner. They use shell groups to fucking hide what the advocacy organization actually is seeking to do. Your forehead looks extra big today, Low Kirk. Oh no. Don't be like that, big dog. Also, here's another very funny moment. Strong statement from the Jewish Democratic Council of America CEO Haley Soifer. We will not endorse a Democrat unless they support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state and support Israel's security and right to self-defense. But if I were to say, wow, that's a weird fucking standard to place about a foreign country as an American organization comprised of American Jews whose political expression is supposed to be related to things that American Jews care about as Americans, right? That's a strange thing you're doing. It almost feels like your loyalty lies elsewhere. Then I'm the bad guy. I'm doing dual loyalty tropes. Like, what the fuck do you mean? This is literally you saying, like, nope, that's my loyalty. My loyalty is to the foreign state of Israel. And not just like loyalty to the foreign state of Israel, but my loyalty is to the foreign state of Israel being an ethno-state. Okay? That is insane. There is no equivalence to this madness in American politics. What is this? Have you addressed Plattner's recent infidelity? As a woman, it makes me very uncomfortable. He may be the best available option, but that behavior needs to be called out. Okay. Yes. For those of you who are wondering, Plattner's Text with Women Concerned campaign as Senate took off. The wife of Graham Plattner, who is still Graham Plattner's wife, by the way, said the Democratic candidate in Maine told the campaign he had sent sexual messages to other women. Okay? The story is that when Graham Plattner first launched his campaign, and this happened suspiciously with Abdul as well, not the controversy, of course, but the fact that some staffers were in his campaign and did not actually have any interest in working for his campaign whatsoever, and had every interest of basically leaking all of the opposition research to pro-Israel Hasbara papers. Remember, this is exactly what happened with Dr. Abdullah Sayed as well. So one of his former security guys literally fucking leaked information to right-wing newspapers of private campaign talks that took place. Very strange. Very strange. Very strange how this keeps happening. Now, of course, the article is not going to change the polls, in my opinion. That's really funny that people think this is going to do it. One more, just one more. But yeah, Graham Plattner's insurgent bid for Senate in Maine was gathering steam last summer when his campaign was confronted with some potentially explosive information. Mr. Plattner's wife, Amy Gertner, told the senior campaign aide that he had been exchanging sexual messages with multiple other women. It was the kind of revelation with the potential to damage the political newcomer just as his campaign to unseat Senator Susan Collins, a Republican, was beginning to resonate with voters, especially in a state where female voters make up a large share of the electorate. Mr. Plattner's exchanges with women were confirmed by current and former campaign officials who gave different accounts of some of the details. Mr. Gertner said the couple who had married in November 2023, according to the town clerk of Sullivan, Maine, was working through his indiscretions in marriage counseling. Okay, great. Seems like they've made up. How does this not happen to anybody else, dude? Are these candidates uniquely bad, you think? Or are they uniquely good on certain issues that are, unfortunately, unfortunately for the advocacy organizations that care about this, very popular amongst the base, but very unpopular in the Hill, very unpopular amongst the consultant class, very unpopular for the media. Have you noticed? You are not locked in? What do you mean? I am locked in. Take a day off. Well, it did happen to Eric Swalwell. This is not a comparison between what Eric Swalwell was doing and what Graham Plattner was doing. What the fuck are you talking about? These are not salacious text messages with women that he had any sort of significant power over. What are you talking about? That's not a comparison at all. Eric Swalwell was not forced to resign because he was a dog. Okay? He was forced to resign because he sexually assaulted a staffer, allegedly. He was forced to resign because he was regularly exchanging salacious text messages, not with random women, consenting adults, but instead with fucking staffers whom he had hired. If you cannot see the difference there, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, and that's before we even talk about the fact that we have a sitting president that, is a Jeffrey Epstein affiliate, and also not only was found to be guilty of sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll, but is now currently utilizing or weaponizing the Department of Justice to actually punish the victim instead of paying out the tens of millions of dollars in trial awards that he is supposed to fucking pay. Plattner strategist Morris Katz says, "It's no one's fucking business what happened in Graham and Amy's marriage before he was ever a candidate for office. There should be no place in our politics for incompetent, opportunistic operatives who violate privacy, betray trust, and prioritize." Go eat shit, Morris. Every story about this degenerate asshole claims to pass a moral. Dude, I need you guys to Google something, okay? I need you to do something. I need you to do something for me. It's the same for all of my naysayers. Whenever someone comes out and says, wow, this person is actually an immoral ape, okay? Just key search Gaza, Israel, and Palestine, okay? Just on their profile, go and search the words Gaza, Israel, and Palestine, and you will find something very interesting. He was found liable, not guilty, King. It was a civil case. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I apologize. Did I say guilty? I hope you don't spend the entire stream on this. Let's move on. It's so interesting how much people yell about all of these other things. They're like, oh, this person's morality is called into question. I don't know if I can vote for this guy. Okay? Key search, genocide, Israel, Palestine, and Gaza. Four words. 4 words. Okay? 4 fucking words will reveal something very interesting to you. It's not that they give a shit about this, or maybe some of them do, right? Maybe some of them actually do care. Maybe some of them find this to be too offensive, a bridge too far. But that's not the main motivation here, okay? That's not the main motivation here. The main motivation is that Graham Plattner is an anti-Zionist. That's it. He is against what Israel is doing, okay? That's the reason why they grab onto anything and everything they can. Oh, wow. Ohio Rob, the guy who we were just looking at. Like, hold on. Ohio Rob, right? He says, go eat shit, Morris. Every story about this degenerate asshole who claims to pass the moral clarity about everything will come out. I just downloaded that fucking Kick app and paid $2.99 to verify for myself. Yep, here's Plattner and his terrible morals. Okay? You could also think of it as only those who reject eliminationist policies towards Israel, like denying its right to exist as a Jewish state, possess the moral clarity, historical understanding, and commitment to democracy that make it more effective member of Congress. When was Yitzhak Rabin the prime minister of Israel? That's not what it shows. It shows destruction of tunnel system used to carry out terrorist attacks against civilians in northern Israel. You just parrot Parsi without a critical thought. When all is said and done, Gaza won't even make up the top 20 below the Holocaust. 13x more people have been displaced in Ukraine by Russian imperialism. Why are you guys such assholes? I don't proudly support genocide. I disagree. There is or was a genocide in Gaza. I'm definitely not R-worded, which is a slur where I come from. Screenshotting my bio like I'm ashamed to post it. It's so strange. Every single time someone chirps about me, every single time someone chirps about Graham Plattner, every single time someone chirps about Adam Hamoudi, Abdul El Sayed, who has no red flags in his background whatsoever, but they still try to invent them. It's always a 100% guarantee. How does this keep happening? It seems like these guys have so many different problems. Whenever they're talking about the likes of Graham Plattner, or whenever they're talking about the likes of Adam Hamoudi, or whenever they're talking about the likes of any number of Zoran Mamdani. They're like, oh, I just don't like Zoran because I don't think fast and free buses are good, right? This guy responded to me, by the way, is your goal the destruction of Israel? Where does the anti-Zionist cause lead. It's just strange. These guys are supposed to be Democrats, right? They're like, oh, I'm a Democrat, but I can't do this anymore. You know, I'm a Democrat and I'm a Gen Xer and a secular Zionist, a Lockheed liberal, a Calvinist, Presbyterian. Yeah, look, yesterday, the mayor has a Latino problem, full stop. First, he condemns La Luchadora, Nydia Velasquez. And now, for the first Dominican in Congress and chair of the Hispanic caucus, if you don't think that's a purposeful attempt to dismantle Latino leadership in New York, I have a bridge to sell you. Today and every day, I stand with Israel. What? I thought the disagreements that you have with Zohran Mamdani and Daria Liza was because, I guess, she wasn't Afro-Latina enough for you, as opposed to Adriano Espaillat. But now it feels like you're more invested in the fact that Espaillat was an AIPAC stooge, and you liked that, and you don't like that Daria Liza, who is also literally Dominican, is anti-Zionist. Huh. So just remember that. Okay? Remember that. Just as AIPAC never runs on the issue of Israel, they never fund ads that say, this candidate doesn't like Israel, that's why we need to punish him. The people that support Israel to the fucking hilt, the people that support Israel down to the goddamn bone, will never say, oh, my disagreements on this person, my disagreements with this candidate, my disagreements with HasanAbi Piker, a content creator, is not about Israel. They will never, sometimes they do say it, but usually, especially when it comes to these candidates, they won't openly be like, oh, you just hate Israel and I fucking hate you for it. They'll say, oh, you have a litany of different issues that I think are irredeemable. That's it. So yeah, whenever you hear any of this shit from the peanut gallery, okay, just look. See if they have any previous takes about Gaza, about Palestine, about genocide. What have they said? It's 100%. Okay? It is 100%. This story reflects so badly on Genevieve McDonald's integrity, character, and professionalism. She made a stupid decision to publicly jump ship when she misread the moment, rejected an NDA, then vindictively leaked confidential marriage info when it could only help Republicans. The Plattners confided to her, assuming she was a friend and professional, as they embarked on a campaign that would rake over over their personal lives, and McDonald betrayed that confidentiality out of spite 7 months after quitting the campaign, which she assumed was doomed in October, and gave a litany of opposition research to the Republicans. What about the leftists who have issues with Plattner, though? And they're, oh, no, that's different. That's different. But they're ultimately, they're irrelevant. I'm sorry to say this. And I don't mean this as like a diss. I just mean like in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like electing a senator from Maine, anti-imperialism of that sort, where you're like saying, you know, every American member of the military is a child killer that needs to be punished at The Hague. Like that kind of attitude demonstrated by a lot of the people that also hate Graham Plattner from the left is not exactly an attitude that is commonplace in American society. And I say this as someone who is anti-imperialist and someone who has been attacked viciously for being anti-imperialist. And my assessment on the situation always is to be as kind as possible to those who have done heinous things in the past, with the hopes that they actually, with the understanding, with the charitability that they most as a person, right? Like this has been my day one, my day one fundamental principle, right? I'm always going to understand that social conditioning played a major role in the development of every single person living in the imperial core, and that as long as they have learned from the things that they've done in the past and reflected on it and are trying to make the world a better place to ensure that others also don't make these same mistakes, don't take these same decisions, then, you know, I will ride for them. Many people here would call that very Christian of you, ironically. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a religious person at all. It's just something that I believe. But yeah, the reason why I don't really bring up the ultra position of like every single veteran is a fucking child murderer is because I think it's immaterial, right? And to the degree that kind of thing was popular in America, like after Vietnam, it didn't age well. Like even Hunter Thompson going, "God mercy on you, swine," is like extreme by our standards. Yeah. Well, anyway, we know you're not Christian. You're a numbers guy. Everyone is so collectively traumatized by Federbitch. I mean, that plays a role in this as well. That plays a role in this calculus for sure, where people don't want another John Fetterman, right? Writing out Plattner's war crimes because the average voter will think you're socially maladjusted is just American chauvinism. That's moral inconsistency. I disagree with you on this topic, but understand where you're coming from. War crimes need accountability, both the grunt. First of all, here are a couple things, okay? We don't know what his actual fucking record is. We're just speculating that he engaged in a litany of war crimes because America's entire fucking war in Iraq and Afghanistan was a war crime, okay? That's number one. Now, one of the problems here is that we just associate the worst of the worst of the worst fucking acts of violence that American military members have engaged in with every single person in the military. And secondly, regardless of my position on American imperialism, I will always support those who make these changes. My community is comprised of a shit ton of fucking former veterans, okay? Veterans that are now anti-imperialist. They are not only reliable allies, but it's also fundamentally at odds with my worldview to just deny someone, because of their background, any sort of grace or charity, especially when they have changed. And every single time we have this conversation, people immediately go, "Nope, I don't believe you. Fuck you." I've never been this person. I've always been the person that says, look, American imperialism is an evil endeavor. And in spite of that, if someone has actually been a trigger man for American imperialism, if they've learned from their past, and if they want to stop it, then they are my ally. Okay? That's just the way I see it. And there are plenty of people who are veterans, who have been a part of this community, who have had on this broadcast, who I do see as reliable servants in the cause of anti-imperialism. That's it. There has also never been a historic revolutionary movement that did not comprise almost majority by veterans that have done heinous shit, okay? That's the other side of the story. It's just never existed. It's pure, I genuinely think it's pure and utter liberalism. That is what Mao Zedong would say. Straight up. If Mao Zedong is the peak anti-rightist, Mr. Combat Liberalism himself, if he was questioned about this assessment, if he was like, hey, what do you think about people who are now serving the people instead? Like former KMT militants, for example, like in the KMT right. The KMT right flank was where the standing military was, right, of the nationalist forces. That was also a revolutionary force at the time, right? What did Mao Zedong accomplish? One of his greatest achievements was to convert former KMT nationalist forces. Obviously, the most significant accomplishment was the peasants, mobilizing the peasant class. But regardless, you will never convince me that this is a bad concept. I will continue to combat reactionary thought. And as a part of combating reactionary thought, I will continue to try and convert any and every person to this cause. Okay? If someone like Grant Plattner gets elected and doesn't do what he said he would do, you will be a sucker in the scenario? Certainly. Saying imperial wars you engaged in were stupid is not rehabilitation. I know, man. I know. How Trotsky built the Red Army? Oh, as much as Trotsky deserved the ice pick, oh my God, WS wrote a scathing article about my anti-Trotskyist thought, by the way. And they said I was a Stalinist, or I was engaging in Stalinist smears against Trots. They said I had no class analysis, no understanding of theory, and no politics whatsoever. But then they did defend me against the federal government's unjustifiable, political expedition, the political persecution. Anyway, guys, I just want you to understand, it is healthy and understandable to maintain skepticism towards Graham Plattner, especially given the many red flags in his background. Okay? That's it. I'm not going to sit here and act as though this is, you need to say this is the greatest fucking guy of all time. Okay? And I was, ironically enough, much more positive on Graham Plattner until I listened to him talk on the New York Times podcast, which everybody loved. But I personally thought it was much more cagey, and I think maybe it's because he's just not the best speaker. But I thought his answers to a lot of these questions were a lot more cagey than I thought he would be, especially at this point. But having said that, people constantly hear one side of this argument and never the other and get very upset at me. Because they'll clip the part where I'm talking about, like, there's never been a fucking revolutionary movement that hasn't comprised almost entirely of former military officials, former military members of some, rather heinous groups, the czarist military that ended up being recruited into the Red Army, right? Hold on, brother. What is going on? Dude, this fucking... It's crazy, dude. It is crazy to me that I'm over here in fucking New Jersey and I have to unlock my door for the people at my house who can't be asked to go and unlock the door themselves. So I'm unlocking their door for their food delivery. What are we doing here? What's going on? Anyway, I think your relationship and respect for Jeffrey Sachs is far worse than supporting Plattner electorally. Okay. Weird how the contradiction is always shitting on Trotsky or siding with feds. Didn't Mao technically fight with Shanghai Shek against the Japanese? Yes, but what we're talking about is what predates the fight against the Japanese, for the record. The USSR's initial assessment was that the Communist Party of China simply did not have the ranks, which is true, because in the early 1920s, the Communist Party of China's numbers, paying membership, or just membership numbers, were quite literally, I'm not accosting you, I'm just explaining to you history, okay? So the Communist Party of China simply did not have the numbers. So the USSR's advice for the CPC was to literally align with the KMT, which they did, okay? They did. They worked under the banner of the KMT for the longest time. As they rose through the ranks, they tried to coordinate with the left flank of the KMT, because the KMT, just like every other socialist party or nationalist party or just like old school parties, had a center, had leftists. Okay, so they worked in tandem with the KMT left. As a matter of fact, when Shanghai Shek did his push on numerous occasions, did the coup initially, the CPC under the ranks of the KMT actually benefited quite a bit from the KMT left. The KMT had different opinions than the CPC did, of course. Shanghai Shek, sorry. Anyway, every single successful revolution has always had instances of tremendous pragmatism that looks revisionist. And every single revolution that has been successful has also had excesses. Okay, this is a delicate balance that exists throughout all historical revolutions. At the end of the day, I'm not saying like, oh, Graham Plattner is a revolutionary. I don't think he is. I'm just, making an assessment that is adjusted to our current material reality in the United States of America. Chiang Kai-shek purged the leftists inside KMT to prevent the KMT from collaborating with the CPC. In spite of my skepticism over Graham Plattner's like commentary and whatnot, his ops are all of my ops. So it's very difficult for me to to sit here and not come across like I'm fucking defending him, even if I'm not defending him unconditionally, okay? I put my head on that man's shoulder. I think you should stop defending him and vote for Israel's preferred candidate, Susan Collins. Yes, I will be doing that, of course. I was Pill's Mafia till the end, and now I'm, of course, riding with Susan Collins, who was never a trigger man, simply sent, tens of thousands of American sons and daughters overseas, which, by the way, is infallible because the vote of a congressperson does not matter. Okay? Leftists often fail at simple math. If you're a part of a movement and you want to grow that movement, you cannot do so unless you accept converts. Leftists who refuse to accept converts are basically being the 10K Zoroastrians in a world of 2 billion Christians, non-proselytizing versus proselytizing religions. If they want to lose forever, continue behaving this way. Well, lucky for us, most leftists don't behave that way. There's a difference between you and Graham, though, Hasan. Wait, between me and Graham Plattner? Yes, there are many differences. One is that I was fortunate enough, as far as like moral infallibility goes, I was fortunate enough to be born in fucking Turkey. Who knows what my attitude about American empire would be like if I was born in the United States of America? Okay? The fuck do you mean? I was always a curious person, and I certainly am very critical of Turkey's militarism as well. I don't know how I arrived at that conclusion, but initially I did, right? Or did I say born in Turkey? I was born in the United States of America, but like grew up in Turkey. Sorry. Raised in Turkey, not born in Turkey. Fuck! Fox News. Fox News is going to be like, Hasan Piker admits to being born on foreign soil. Deport him now! Yes, raised in Turkey, not born in Turkey. Born here. I'm literally in the state that I was born in. So we're just going to disregard all the red flags of someone like Platinum because he's our only option. I don't think most chatters realize that even though there's no ad at the top of the hour, they can still subscribe for $5 for free. God damn it. That's true. You are right. Although there are no ads at the Piker Broadcasting Service, you can still subscribe, and you should still subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, also known as the People's Broadcasting Service. Yeah, the Main Wire is an opposition paper that was specifically designed to shit on Graham Plattner, by the way, and it's really funny because, like, from our perspective, this stuff looks awesome. Ex-Marine Graham Plattner, top military tactics recruiter for socialist paramilitary group in Maine. Yeah, he was an SRA guy. Got him in 4K admitting to being born in Africa in the same hospital as Obama. Anyway, but yeah, having said all of that, yeah, Graham Plattner was a little bit of a dog. Just look to, with the exception, with Graham Plattner, I was in the Army, and the first person I ever voted for was John McCain. Come down the escalator and gave the immigration speech, and I was like, this guy's a Nazi. And then when he won, I was like, if he's going to be a Nazi, I might as well be a socialist. That's how I got into leftism. Yeah, everyone has their own unique journey, right? I think what a lot of people get mad at me about is they think I'm like they think I'm too forgiving. Okay? They think I'm too forgiving of people who they think I'm too forgiving of people who have done things in the past that are sometimes heinous. Like, and we don't know to the degree. Not to sound like a LARPer, but people realize we need people with military experience if there was a violent revolution in this country. I mean, yes, but that's not even what we're talking about here. We have this combo every single month. Yes, like the thing that I find really funny about what Susan Collins said about Graham Plattner's service, which like many leftists also ate up. Okay. Was hold on, I gotta find this. Where is it? There was a really good analysis on it from a user named Ta-Nehisi quotes. Let me see if I can find it. It was like it was really solid. It was a really solid assessment where, I mean, Ryan Grimm said something similar as well, but basically when Susan Collins came out and was like, Graham Plattner personally chose to go to war. How dare you fucking blame me for it? It's like, so you're saying that someone who was born up, who was hopped up on American exceptionalism and Western chauvinism, okay, at the age of 18, signed the fucking dotted line to go wage wars, right? That person is more responsible, but you, in your old ass age, at the age of like 60, as a congressperson, kept funding the military and kept sending more and more people to war. You are not responsible for it. The responsibility under the American individualistic framework, the responsibility is in the hands of an 18-year-old and not in the hands of the fucking 60-year-old that sent them to war. It's not in the hands of the media executives that championed this war. Okay? I find that so strange. It literally does not compute with my worldview. I find that ridiculous. And I say this as someone who is still skeptical of Graham Plattner, okay? It's understandable to be skeptical of Graham Plattner. Like, his argument is, you know, I did this, I was feeling disillusioned, but then I had no other, you know, when you're in this system, when you're doing this is your job, okay? This is your job. And it's the only thing you know, and you can't do anything else. This is a huge problem with, like, veteran groups in general, is to reintegrate them back into society and to turn them into reliable allies, to turn them into, like, anti-imperialists. This is a huge problem, and every single veteran in this community would fucking say the same shit, right? But yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates said, the phenomenon of young men desiring war for the excitement of battle and violence is self-destructive, but ineradicable feature of human nature. Ineradicable feature of human nature, which has been remarked on by poets and artists for millennia. Likewise, the phenomenon of former warriors aging into pacifism as maturation convinces them of war's folly is not new. In our society, wisely, we entrust regulation of young men's desire for war not to the young men, but to our Congress, whom we expect to act with wisdom, deploying soldiers only in circumstances where doing so is completely necessary. Susan Collins was a member of Congress, which sent Plattner and many other men like him to Iraq on the basis of lies. Once deployed, those men destroyed themselves and others en masse. Using his drive to enlist as a 19-year-old as a hit on his campaign to unseat her is pathetic. Are you for real skeptical of him? And is it just to please these psychos who don't believe people can change? No, I do believe people can change. It still doesn't matter. There is like still some... Dude. I do believe people can change. I do. But right now, he's running for office in a somewhat conservative state. I don't know how much of his communications on his campaign have been reflective of the tastes of the audiences, the masses that he's trying to win over to vote for him, and how much of it is his genuine perspective, or how much change has actually taken place. But I'm skeptical of all politicians regardless. But yeah, ultimately, if you're a leftist in any way, shape, or form, and you hear Susan Collins say the exact same things that you've been saying, you should probably, second guess your assessment a little bit. But my assessment on this is simple. He's anti-Zionist and he's pro-Medicare for all. That's good. That's a pretty decent standard to set for politicians, many of which can't even clear that fucking low-ass bar. Okay? So yeah, if your argument is that he doesn't fit your standard of anti-Zionism because he's not saying that we should castrate the synagogue of Satan that owns Hollywood or whatever the fuck, then yeah, you're not a serious person. We're not having a serious conversation. You do this ship of Theseus, you do this Mott and Bailey argument where you're sometimes making serious criticisms of American imperialism and the soldiers that actually contributed to it. And then in most other times, you're not having a serious conversation at all. Because it's always the Galindo heads that are seemingly the anti-Plattner leftists. Galindo Mafia. Hasan doesn't like him because he doesn't understand why anyone would farm oysters. No, man, he did fucking still join Blackwater. Unbelievably charitable. I have to be the most charitable person on the fucking planet beyond what normal regular levels of charitability. If you were to give me his background and you were to tell me oh, this guy's a fucking combat veteran, literally was in the Marines and the Army, and did security detail outside of fucking Abu Ghraib. He wasn't inside, to be fair, but still was literally in the vicinity of Abu Ghraib. And also on top of that, left and in 2018 joined Blackwater to do diplomat security. And also, it turns out he had a fucking totem cloth on his chest. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, on paper, not exactly great. But what he does with this is really fucking good. It shows an entirely different person. That's why I think there's almost a schizophrenic approach to Graham Plattner where people lose their fucking minds because he is extreme on both ends, right? If you were to tell me, however, someone who is a veteran who's anti-war, a veteran who's anti-war, who's running on a campaign of no more wars and Medicare for all and is an avowed anti-Zionist, right? And then I'm like, wow, that sounds fucking brilliant. That sounds incredible. Do you understand why there's this crazy, this crazy wave of anti-Plattnerites and people who are pro-Plattner at the same time? Where some people look at that and go, that's fucking awesome. He's great. Think like a chud. Think like a woke, walk like a chud. That's great. He's the perfect candidate. Who gives a shit? There is this immense duality, this immense juxtaposition that causes people to fucking lose their minds. A real progressive mind in a MAGA body for Graham Plattner. My point is, however, all of this other stuff about his all this other shit about not the tattoo necessarily, but even then it's people talking about his infidelity and whatnot. All of this is bullshit. The reason why you give a fuck about this is because he's anti-Israel. That's it. He's anti-Israel, and you hate that. You do not want another senator to be anti-Israel. And the hilarious thing to believe is that 90% of this convo involves non-main voters. Yes. This person is right. The wife believes it's an invasion of privacy. The only part that matters here. In a statement released by the campaign, Ms. Gertner suggested that she had been betrayed by Ms. McDonald, saying that she was deeply hurt and bothered by the invasion of our privacy. I confided deeply personal details about my marriage to someone I considered a friend, she said. I trusted this person with the most private chapter of our lives, the early days of our marriage, before any campaign was on our mind. Our marriage today is stronger than ever before, she added. I know the man I married and the husband he has been to me on the best and worst days of my life. That hasn't changed and it won't. Plattner is a more controversial candidate than Galindo to anyone who isn't suffering from American exceptionalism. Okay, dude. Sure. We live in America. Everyone is suffering from American exceptionalism to varying degrees. If you want to fucking hit me with that beam as well, go ahead. So much of this conversation from the left also turns into, hey, guys, this content creator that you believe is a radical is not actually radical. I'm the real radical. Watch me instead. And a lot of people don't understand that, okay? Sure, there's a real conversation taking place on the basis of morality, on the basis of ideology, or at least that's what it seems like, right? That's what it feels like from afar. But you scratch that surface a little bit and you realize very quickly, no, it's just a game of people trying to generate market share for their own fucking business. That's the way they operate, at least. And some of you get duped by it. A lot of people get duped by it. I'm pretty fucking transparent. I have a more complex, a more nuanced approach to this issue. But you can always say, dude, nuance on fucking baby murder. That's what you can say and then move on. To which I always say this. If your politics, if your mass politics is so appealing, you're barking up the wrong tree. Okay? You should be taking your mass politics to the masses. You should be converting the masses, not trying to come into this community and be like, nope, I'm only going to fight people who are closest to me ideologically. I've been told by numerous up-and-coming leftist creators that once we get rid of you, they'll form the real Vanguard Party with their channel and we can fix everything. I know. Everybody always wants to form the Vanguard Party, but no one actually wants to go to the masses. And when someone is going to the masses and trying to pull them to leftist politics, they go, nope, you're doing it wrong. I would be doing it in your stead in a much better, much more successful way. And it's crazy to me because it's like, okay, well, you have the opportunity. And the only method that you have shown so far is critiquing what I'm trying to do. That's why it's always funny when people go, oh, he's like, he's bastardizing Lenin. How dare you? It's like, dude, the average American thinks Lenin is has killed 700 guerrillion people. What are you talking about? Like, there is no introduction to Lenin to the average normie that goes, well, I do have a lot of reverence for Lenin. I'm an HVAC small business owner, and I love Lenin. And now that I've encountered this revisionist piece of shit, HasanAbi Piker, I'm desperately seeking out someone who is a more honest advocate of Lenin's revolution. Yeah. If your leftist queer space leaves no room for me, the most mean, aggressive, annoying, antisocial person you can imagine, so I can constantly make everyone walk on eggshells around me as a sign of some sort of moral superiority, is it really a safe space at all? I want to see the Vanguards writing the policy they want to enact first, like build and buy a new bureaucratic system. Anyway, my point is, this is not even about Graham Plattner. We've moved way past the point of Graham Plattner, right? Like, this is more about like a critique of electoralism, right? Where a lot of people say, I'm a tailist, I'm an opportunist, I'm engaging in entryism, I'm engaging in electoralism, and electoralism must be abandoned in order for the revolution to take root. I've been pretty open about my theory, right? My goals. Very open about it. I have no loyalty to any party whatsoever. I do have loyalty to certain policies, to advancing people's material conditions, to make their lives a little bit more livable, while in the process of trying to foment class consciousness to the best of my ability in an unbelievably reactionary country that is the imperial core, where masses self-identify as liberals, even if they are not necessarily liberal, right? And electoralism has been a successful route to foment class consciousness and to also start people on the journey of political education. Bernie Sanders' 2016 insurgency, a real proof of this concept. Many of the people who now shit on Bernie on a daily basis or shit on me on a daily fucking basis, and I have my criticisms of Bernie Sanders as well, actually started their ideological journey through Bernie Sanders. So they don't even fucking recognize that in their own personal experience, electoralism played a major role. And right now, we're at the precipice of something genuinely different than what we've had before, where you have self-identifying democratic socialists running and winning in spite of all the hurdles thrown their fucking way. And there are still naysayers to the left that are going, no, they're all liberals. They're all fucking, they're not even like social democrats. They're all fucking libtards. They're all Zionists. They're all genociders. Fuck them. These guys claim to be Marxist-Leninists, but they behave a lot like left comms. Because on the other side of tailism are those who engage in the other side of opportunism, frontism. People who are constantly trying to push the boundaries in a way that sometimes leans into unproductive outcomes. Anarchists that think adventurism or the propaganda of the deed will be successful in fomenting revolutionary politics amongst the masses. Okay, you always have to have a pragmatic approach. That's my assessment. You always have to make sure you have a decent understanding. Make sure you have a decent understanding of where the masses are, how they self-identify, and speak to them with the language that they understand. I'm constantly working to expand the permission boundaries, and I think I do a fairly decent job at that. So yeah, let's talk about this. Justin, at least 5 Americans reportedly hurt in recent Iranian attack.
Termination on a proposed 60-day ceasefire extension with Iran after wrapping up a meeting yesterday in the Situation Room.
Meanwhile, a new report indicates at least 5 Americans were hurt in a recent Iranian missile attack on Kuwait.
Madeline Rivera joins us from Washington, D.C. with all the latest details. Maddie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. So that 2-hour meeting ended yesterday with little clarity as to whether the president will move forward with this memo of understanding. A White House official telling Fox President Trump will only make a deal that is good for America and satisfies his red lines. Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. The president has maintained his key asks, which not only includes preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, he also demanded unrestricted shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of mines in the waterway. And regarding Iran's highly enriched uranium, the president says the stockpile, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust, will be unearthed by the United States, which it is agreed is the only country, along with China, with the mechanical capability of doing so in close coordination and conjunction with the Islamic Republic of Iran, plus the International Atomic Energy Agency, and destroyed. But Iran's parliament speaker says in a defiant post, we seize concessions not through dialogue, but with missiles. In negotiations, we merely make them understand we have no trust in guarantees or words. Only actions are the measure. The winner of any agreement is the one who is better prepared for war from the day after. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth warning that military action is still on the table if both sides can't reach a deal.
Our ability to recommence if necessary is we are more than capable. Our stockpiles are more than suited for that, both there and around the globe, because of how we balance exquisite and more plentiful munitions. So we're in a very good place.
Meantime, Bloomberg reports at least 5 Americans were hurt after Iran launched a ballistic missile towards a Kuwaiti airbase earlier this week. The missile was intercepted by Kuwaiti forces, but falling debris reportedly hit the Ali al-Salam airbase. Per Bloomberg, 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones were also seriously damaged in the incident. Charlie, Rachel.
While I was pissing, I was thinking about this. Okay. In order to engage in revolutionary politics, you need masses. Okay. You need the masses. And in order to get the masses to engage in revolutionary politics, you need to be where the masses are. You need to speak the language of the masses. Okay? This doesn't mean you must compromise, but you have to be understanding of their starting position. Okay? This is the number one principle of agitation, agitated propaganda. If you reach the masses and you don't speak their language, or if you reach the masses, if you go to where they're at and you don't speak to their needs, and you speak as though they're already class conscious, without trying to understand where they're coming from, without being charitable, without demonstrating empathy, without keeping in mind the profound impact of social conditioning when you speak to them, you are never going to achieve the results that you want to achieve. Okay? You have to speak to their needs, and you have to offer solutions. And you have to be always cognizant of their shortcomings, their setbacks, their ideological blinders. That's it.
And Griff.
All right, Maddie.
Thanks,
Maddie.
Maddie.
Very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.
Another dawn, another day of motionless vessels on the Strait of Hormuz. And another day of these ships waiting for some movement from either Washington or Tehran to end the war for good.
The ceasefire is a done deal that everyone agrees on the price for both sides, but the U.S. and Trump in particular just seem politically incapable of taking it. He's been fully BB-fied and adopted the strategy of if other options are bad, just delay perpetually until something changes or opens up. Unfortunately for Trump, he's much more of a coward than Bibi and is unwilling, it seems, to perform the mischief that would change the situation. Where does that leave us? We are waiting for another round of money molestation via oil markets, methinks, says Noah Colwyn. It is true. They're literally looking at the situation. They're like, something will change eventually. Kyle is so funny, dog. Graham Plattner could have sexted my mom and I'd still vote for him. Yeah.
And get this crucial economic waterway.
You see a scenario where it kicks the can down the line for the next president? I don't think we don't make it to the next president if that's the case, chatter.
Back up and running. President Trump had said that he intended to make a decision after a meeting in the Situation Room on Friday, but he did not, with the defense secretary saying he had faith in the commander-in-chief.
I'm quite confident with our president who makes nothing but great deals, that ultimately it'll be something he's proud to defend, that ensures that Iran, which everyone knows should not have a nuclear weapon, never does.
It's believed.
Yeah, I mean, there is a timeline here where the rubber meets the road. I've been saying this over and over again, okay? All commodities traders have been saying this as well, which is that oil is a physical commodity that has inelastic demand. So once supply runs out, it's a global commodity. Once supply runs out, people are going to start getting really frisky. They're going to start doing things that you previously thought were crazy, that would never happen. Because without it, you don't have an energy grid, right? Hospitals start closing down. Babies start dying. No more incubators, right? I've seen it with my own two eyes in Cuba. The entire world will turn into Cuba. Governments will collapse. You can't refrigerate food. Now, obviously, America as an oil exporter can stave off some of the worst consequences, but America doesn't just have a responsibility to the Americans as the hegemon and as also the party that triggered this event and the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. America has a responsibility to the rest of the world to fix the problem that they started. So I'm not exactly certain as to how, what our plan is to fix the situation. What our plan is when push comes to shove, when the pedal hits the metal, when the rubber meets the road.
Any deal would extend the ceasefire for 60 days and start talks on the future of Iran's nuclear program. At a pro-regime rally in...
Yeah, here is Robert A. Pape, Mr. Escalation Ladder himself, saying everyone should read what Senior Vice President of Exxon, Neil Chapman, says about the oil price surge coming in 2 to 3 weeks. The next wave of the energy shock is approaching fast. Commercial inventories of crude oil, of liquids, think petroleum, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, they've all run down. And running down those inventories is mitigated or offset, supplemented by the release of strategic petroleum reserves, which most of the Western countries have done. All of that has mitigated the impact. You can model this. We've modeled it. I think a lot of people in the industry have modeled it. We're approaching new levels of unheard inventory levels. I mean, really, really low levels. You can debate whether that's going to hit those really low levels in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Once you get to that point, then you'll see prices shoot up. I mean, I think dated Brent, most people, well, a model would say dated Brent will shoot up. Once you get to that really low inventory level, up to 150, 160, the models will tell you that. And then what happens is when the price gets to a certain level, demand destruction brings it back into balance. Prices go so high, it becomes unaffordable. And that's what happens. And so we're at that level right now. And I think crude being in this sort of $90 to $110 for the last, whatever it is, 6 weeks, has really been mitigated by running down inventories. It can't last forever. So we'll see what happens. And predicting this and the exact timing, it's always a challenge. But that's the way we see the picture. So everyone has been holding on to their strategic reserves and just releasing their strategic reserves with the hopes that Trump won't be so crazy that he'll continue this blockade for an extended period of time. Well, Trump is that guy. He is crazy enough. So what happens when the strategic oil reserves are tapped out? Because they're nearing levels, nearing red alert levels already.
Tehran, Iranians voice skepticism. Trump has constantly mentioned a potential deal for weeks to no avail. And given the Americans have attacked Iran in the middle of negotiations before, distrust of the US president prevails.
First of all, this is not just my view. The whole world is saying that he is a crazy, stupid person. He does not stand by his word. He is a complete liar and a low person, and he only talks nonsense. We don't pay attention to what he says, and we continue our own work.
It was just last Saturday that Marco Rubio said there was good news to come, and Trump said the agreement had largely been negotiated, before later saying he wasn't yet satisfied. The president's shifting narrative has been criticized, and the framework on the table does not match his stated objectives when he launched the war on February the 28th. Yes, he discussed nuclear weapons then, but he also spoke of regime change and Iran's missile capabilities, and the Strait of Hormuz was never mentioned.
Part of the problem, of course, is that the United States, when it started off these negotiations or started off this entire process, it thought that the Iranians...
Look who it is, bro. We're watching Channel 4, and who do they got? Who do they got on Channel 4?
Were going to collapse within 4 days. So he never really thought that this public posture and public negotiation would be a problem. But that is one of the two biggest problems we have right now, which is that the negotiations are taking place too publicly, which is never helpful in situations like this. And secondly, the ball has been in the Iranian court for more than 10 days now.
And the Iranians want any potential deal to include peace in Lebanon, where Israeli forces continue to advance in their war against Hezbollah, despite a ceasefire being in place.
If there is continued slaughter and bombing of Lebanon, the spillover risk is significant, and that can actually reignite the war between Israel and Iran. We've already seen how twice the war in Gaza and Lebanon has spilled over into Iran. And the Iranian objective here is to truly end the war, not just have a pause, not have a porous ceasefire that the Israelis can break at any time.
President Trump hasn't headed off to Florida this weekend as he usually does, sticking close to the White House. He knows he needs some conclusion because in this election year, the conflict is hugely unpopular. 2/3 of Americans say it was wrong to go to war. And the headaches are mounting for a president obsessed with his legacy after a federal judge ordered the removal of Trump's name from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. In response, an irate president wrote, "Unless I am free to do what I do better than anyone else, I have no interest in continuing what could only be a hopeless journey into Never Never Land."
He just straight up got butthurt over the Kennedy thing, where they were like, yeah, the Congress has to name it, and Congress has to rename the Kennedy Center if you want to rename it. And he lost his dang mind. He wrote one of the longest screeds I've seen him write. I think this literally might be the longest thing that he's written, saying, "Oh, if you don't want me, then I'll leave, I guess." No, he's not threatening to resign, dude. I wish he would threaten us with a good time like that. But of course that's not what he's threatening to do. What he's threatening to do is just like fuck the world up further, okay? It's like, oh, if you don't give me what I want, I'll molest the money further. I'll molest the money further.
That speaks volumes about Trump on Iran too. That when the president
and there's
doesn't get
nothing
his way,
you can do
he
about
loses
it.
interest. And the vessels on the Strait of Hormuz are left to wait for the president to refocus his attention on their ongoing plight.
Now Now to the uncertainty about whether the war with Iran will reignite. The White House says it's working toward a deal with Iran that would extend the ceasefire for another 60 days, but no final decision has been made. Overnight at a security conference in Singapore, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. is more than capable of restarting the war, but expressed confidence that President Trump could reach a deal with Iran. Olivia Gazis joins us now from Washington, D.C., another Princeton alum. Olivia, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Adriana. President Trump met with top advisors for more than 2 hours in the Situation Room Friday in order to make a final determination on Iran. But officials have not said whether a deal was reached or is even close.
They're very good negotiators. They're crafty.
President Trump on Friday seemed to stop short of sealing a deal with Iran he earlier said would dismantle Tehran's uranium stockpile and fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The lack of agreement raising the specter of fresh military strikes and elevated energy costs, which administration officials have downplayed.
Look, for many families, it's not nothing, but it's been less than $200 in extra.
We had the Plattner spy in on another main campaign. The former Plattner aide that leaked the story and who only worked for the campaign over a couple of weeks in his initial months has resigned from Jordan Woods' campaign as of this morning. Oh, wow. The ex-Plattner aide who publicly leaked this stuff to the New York Times is pulling down $9K a month from Jordan Wood, a Maine 2 Dem candidate who has endorsed Plattner, the Democrats, an incredible political party. Well, she resigned. I'm telling you, man, the Israel stuff is fucking crazy. I think people need to be extra skeptical of the way that anti-Israel candidates are covered. Okay? That's it. I mean, if you can do that for Maureen Galindo, you should be able to do that for Grant Plattner too. It's kind of crazy. You need background checks on people you hire. I don't think anyone ever thought that it would be like this. Who the fuck would think that they're hiring spies to their campaign, chatter? Especially when they're first starting, especially if they're green. I mean, it's just crazy to me that there was a person in Kat Abu Ghazalik's campaign, there was a person in Abdullah al-Sayed's campaign, and there was a person in Grant Plattner's campaign. How would you not? No, dude, I'm telling you, if you're new, if you're relatively new, I don't think you assume that there is going to be someone who is potentially being very helpful to a foreign state and trying to undermine your campaign from within. I don't think people are that I don't think people scrutinize to that degree. I think they just, because remember, these people, when they start off, they don't have that kind of motion. Like when Grant Plattner was like a random fucking oysterman who was propped up by Bernie Sanders and a bunch of other groups to run because they thought he was doing a really good job speaking at a town hall or something. I don't think they thought that they would have people that they hired, people that they've known for years, that would potentially operate like a fucking Mossad agent, okay? Going forward, though, yes, if you are a candidate, if you're running for office, you have to be, you have to scrutinize people extra hard. Because at the end of the day, Hasbara might be dog shit, but that doesn't mean all of the campaigns against critics of Israel are gonna be dog shit. Sometimes it's not gonna be dog shit.
True. The gasoline cost.
The diplomatic deadlock also deepening political problems for the president, with midterm elections now just 5 months away.
I'd imagine if you could have timed things perfectly, having a conflict just in front of the midterm elections at a time like this isn't ideal.
So if you wanted to play that game, then you would wait till the midterms are over, and then the following hour, you'll attack Iran because they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Administration officials argue continued economic pressure through an ongoing blockade and new sanctions on Iran could force it back to the table.
There's 3 scenarios. We have the deal. We don't have the deal, but we just maintain the blockade and we keep squeezing them. And I think every day that goes by, much worse for them. Or we go back to kinetic action.
But as talks have stalled, U.S. intelligence sources say Iran has wasted no time in trying to rebuild some of its missile and drone systems.
Iran has historically had the largest missile arsenal in the region, as well as its drone capabilities. So Iran will certainly use any prolonged negotiation to rebuild its capabilities and its leverage.
It is unclear at this hour whether talks are ongoing. A White House official said President Trump will only make a deal that is good for America and satisfies his red lines. Iranian officials have said that they have, quote, no trust in guarantees or words. Adriana?
Olivia Gazas, thank you.
And developing this morning, tensions escalating once again outside of an immigration detention facility in New Jersey.
Protests have been going on outside Delaney Hall in Newark for more than a week now, with ICE agents clashing with protesters. And John D.
Yeah, this is where we're going to be headed in a little bit. But the situation at Delaney Hall is pretty insane, and it's only gotten worse. Delaney Hall is a private prison facility, a for-profit prison facility run by a Geo Group, a private prison business, and the conditions inside of Delaney Hall are heinous, immoral, awful, and the people that are inside of the detention facility, the immigrants that are being kept inside of the facility, have gone on a hunger strike. And also on top of that, they have started participating in a labor strike as well. Now, you might be thinking, why is there a labor strike at all? Like, how does this work? Well, Geo Group actually puts to work the people that they are imprisoning to maintain the prison itself, right? To do the janitorial stuff, to work in the kitchens and whatnot. And it's just slavery. These are people who have been living on U.S. soil, awaiting their court date, and then sometimes going to their court date and showing up and then getting kidnapped by masked thugs of the state. And now, of course, all of the right-wing shitheads are there. Cam Higbee was caught on video walking up to a group of protesters and spraying multiple people outside of a Newark ICE facility. Then, as people reacted to being sprayed, an armed man pulled him away, telling him it's not worth it, it's time to go. Last time I checked, walking up to a group of people and spraying them with a chemical irritant is commonly charged as assault or battery. And then, after spraying the crowd, the video shows Higbee and the armed man running into the ICE facility while agents allowed them inside. Imagine the outrage if a left-wing activist walked up to a group of conservatives, pepper sprayed them, and then disappeared behind federal gates. The headlines would never stop. The law is supposed to apply equally to everyone. Except we all know that these right-wing agitators, Cam Higbee also literally went to Israel too. He's a agent for PragerU, and has served as a foreign agent for Israel, which, you know, there's no fair restrictions, obviously, on that sort of stuff. Proud Boys are also there today, this morning. They were doing a pro-ICE protest.
You Nazi. Fuck you. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
After what happened the last couple nights, I think Rebecca Sherrill should have, this was unpeaceful, she should have disbanded this whole thing. First Amendment, peaceful protest. This is bullshit protest, and it should be cleared out. I mean, this isn't right.
The protests have been peaceful until
You watching TV?
I've been here every
that's real peaceful. Ask the state police how peaceful it is.
Last night the protesters
I got hit in the head by a piece
You
of
guys
concrete.
are obstructing traffic, obstructing workers. You don't know what you're doing, okay? You have no clue what you're even protesting.
What are you saying?
You numbskull.
All right.
Tear gas or pepper spray.
Yeah, pushing cops, pushing ICE agents, that's okay. Huh?
Right, that was you guys?
What's that?
I don't know, was it? Were you there?
Yeah, beating
what
cops.
would be
All right, on January 6th, how many cops died at January 6th? How many? Zero.
You know who the virus is? You.
Well, it's not peaceful. You can see that. It should be, Mikey Sherrill, I don't know if she listens to CBS.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Hold on. I'm turning on the laptop camera and turning off the... Okay. All right. Well, still, I don't want to be super late and be rude, you know? Okay. Not much drop off in quality, given the camera is busted anyway. But yeah, so you got a bunch of kind of looks like cops to me, I'm gonna be honest. Dressed up in Proud Boy gear. there specifically to agitate at the behest of the MAGA movement, the government. What? No. God damn it. Look in the other backpack. Okay. All right. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. People have been protesting outside of Delaney already. Last night, Mickey Sherrill, the governor, had done a stunt to try and go into the Delaney facility. The governor of New Jersey actually decided to join forces with... No, we're good. Mickey Sherrill, the governor of New Jersey, actually decided to join forces with the ICE agents. They set up barricades, and she deployed the state troopers on her own constituents in the state of New Jersey at the behest of the MAGA movement, at the behest of the Trump administration, where the state troopers of New Jersey worked in tandem with ICE agents, with federal law enforcement, and pepper sprayed her own constituents all the same. Look, and there are still people who are trying to defend it. The use of state troopers outside of Delaney Hall does not seem to have diffused tensions like the state officials had hoped. Raj Parikh says, this misses the point. Governor Sherrill eliminated the ability of the Trump admin to create a pretext to make New Jersey into the next Minnesota for the ICE surge. This is exactly how to protect our neighbors from illegal federal overreach. Yeah, we should just, our own citizens, so that, Trump's agents can't do it, right? Great logic. Sick the state troopers on the protesters so the feds don't have ICE to do the same thing. Brilliant gamesmanship if you don't actually give a shit about the human beings inside and outside of Delaney Hall. Yeah. Oh, you see, you don't understand. This is brilliant. This is statecraft. This is brilliant gamesmanship. This is games theory. Professor Chong would love this. Okay? What we're doing is we're hurting our own constituents ourselves so that we don't let Trump do it. Because if Trump did it, he would actually enjoy it a lot. And we can't give him that enjoyment. So we're just robbing him of that enjoyment. Is that what it is? Very stupid.
Or not, disband this shit and stop it. This is a waste of taxpayers' money, and it's not peaceful. And you watch when we leave here how peaceful it's going to be. It's not.
Your message today
we are
from this
here
side
for law enforcement. What's that?
Your message today, what brings you here?
The message today? Stop it. Mikey Sherrill, end this shit. Just end it. We don't want to see it. This is bullshit.
And that protest there, and we're talking about Delaney Hall. Your message here. Your message about like Delaney Hall, the fact that it's
Delaney Hall.
You're here illegally. You're only breaking the
If Delaney Hall let exist, they let so many fucking people in this country. They should never did that. This wouldn't be here. Alcatraz wouldn't be here. This is all bullshit because they opened the borders. Let them in. Can't get the votes the right way. We'll get the votes.
Yeah, that's what's going on here. Fantastic.
Is joining us live now from there in Newark. And John, now we have protests clashing and dueling protests happening where you are, right?
Yeah, guys, good morning, both of you. We are live here, right really in the center of all of it. On one side of the road, we have about a dozen people in support of ICE starting their protest. You have between 10 to 12 people out here, a lot of them saying that they are from Jersey. But on the other side, though, you can see there's double, if not a triple amount of the people on the other side of the road saying that they do not support this ICE and all these enforcement. Now, a lot of officers are out here telling everyone to stay on their side. They're fearing that things, could get heated out here this morning. But if you take a look here, though, at this video, this is what it all looked like out here last night. Right at 10 o'clock, New Jersey State Police in full riot gear were seen clashing with protesters equipped with gas masks and goggles. Protesters were given 15 minutes to leave the area established outside Delaney Hall or risk getting arrested. Just hours earlier, the New Jersey Attorney General announced state police would be stepping in for ICE and taking over public safety operations after a week of tense clashes outside Delaney Hall between protesters and ICE agents. The governor started what she's calling a peaceful protected protest zone. Take a listen.
Our top priority is public safety, and we need to take this opportunity to lower the temperature now. I recently took an oath to the Constitution of New Jersey. I am going to protect people's right to protest peacefully, and I'm going to ensure everyone's safety. And I am confident in New Jersey we can do both.
And just this morning, Governor Sherrill releasing this statement saying in part, quote, "Today and going forward, I urge everyone who is protesting to do so peacefully in the safe areas and work together to bring the temperature down. We need to focus on advocating for better conditions for the detainees, for their families, and ultimately the closure of Delaney Hall." Now, conditions are a part of what led protesters to break out last Friday. Organized groups claim detainees are on hunger and labor strike due to them. But Department of Homeland Security officials, well, they're claiming detainees get 3 meals a day and have access to comprehensive medical care and deny allegations of hunger strike. And a live look back out here, you can see a lot of people out here.
She's navigating this pretty well, right? No, she's not. I just told you that she deployed the state troopers to beat the out of the anti-ICE protesters, her own constituents. The opposition in this circumstance is the incursion by the federal government, okay? The federal government is overreaching. The federal government has deployed federal agents on Jersey soil outside of this private prison facility on New Jersey soil, and they're straight up brutalizing people from New Jersey. Mickey Sherrill's constituents, people that voted for Mickey Sherrill, people who she's supposed to be defending here, okay? Defending against this kind of thing. All right, we're ready to go. All right, we're going to move on now. We're going to move out right now, and I'll keep playing this for now. And we're going to be heading over to this. Wait, hold on. Actually, let me call the Uber first.
They are against this enforcement. They want to shut down Delaney Hall. We have this man saying chance, and they do have this road blocked off to most vehicular traffic just in case things do get out of control. About a whole mile is blocked off. But over here on the other side, you can see that these people are in support of ICE. So a lot going down out here. I have to move on over right now. But we're going to keep you updated throughout the day. Looks like these people will not be leaving anytime soon. So for now, we are live this morning from Newark, New Jersey. John Diaz, CBS News, New York.
All right, John, thank you. We can only hope things remain peaceful where you are and that you stay safe out there. We'll check back in with John in about a half hour's time.
Well, take a look at this wild video. Protests erupting outside a New Jersey ICE facility, and they got violent very quickly, defying New Jersey's Democratic governor, who just announced peaceful protected protest zones outside Delaney Hall. And now a New Jersey man is facing charges for allegedly kicking and biting ICE officers. We are expecting more protests today, so let's go see where our Steve Harrigan is ready for anything. Steve, what does it look like behind you?
Aisha, those protests already underway here. We've got a small pro-ICE group here, about 24 people, and then several hundred anti-ICE protesters. They're pretty much cursing at each other, separated by...
Who the fuck has a Tom Homan Law and Order flag, bro? The thin green line? Oh my God. That is... You have to be a real fucking freak-ass bitch for that, dude. You went to Amazon and you were like... You had to custom make that, right? I suspect you had to make that custom. I love waving my fucking Tom Homan flag. That's just a Fed? Yeah, that has to be.
Some of those metal barricades. The goal over the past 24 hours was to set up a safe zone, this according to the governor, where people could protest peacefully. That did not happen last night.
What?
Instead, we saw state police march in after being unable to clear the road. They used shields and batons and then used pepper spray and flashbangs to try and clear the protesters out, about several hundred strong. This is what that scene looked like last night.
Another explosion there of tear gas. It's clear these protesters were here to fight just around 10 p.m.
Isn't it 65 degrees out? No.
Cases and cases of water
It's windy.
To wash their eyes when that tear gas hits.
Yeah, there's none. Yeah, they're apparently... The counter-protesters at Delaney Hall are saying the Epstein files are a hoax. The Epstein files are fake news. Fuck the Epstein files, shit like that. Oh, I got one. Oh, shit. Good guys, dude. Just normal guys, you know what I mean? Just fucking good ass guys, dude. Okay.
Nobody cares.
Great.
The Epstein files are a hoax. The Epstein files. Everybody, the Epstein files. Who cares?
Who amongst us, bro? Epstein
And
misunderstood.
that's what's going on now. a confrontation between the two sides for control of these streets out in front of the detention center.
As often happens, the crowd really changes after 10 o'clock. Then it was mainly young people, a lot of them with helmets on, with gas masks, looking for a fight. The question now is, how long is that fight going to continue? We've heard from the Attorney General saying this can't go on. He's talking about some of the agents being bitten in scuffles in the crowds. But it looks like they're gearing up for probably more trouble after dark here once again. Aisha, back to you.
Okay, we know you will keep an eye on that very closely for us, Steve. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you live as soon as something happens. Meantime, listen to this.
My administration will be working together with community members, faith leaders, advocates, and state police to help people move there today. Our top priority is public safety, and we need to take this opportunity to lower the temperature now.
Well, that is New Jersey's Democratic Governor Mikey Sherrill finally bringing in the state police to help calm the area. Let's bring in former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf to help us unpack this picture that we're watching unfold out in New Jersey. Chad, welcome to the program. So she just announced a protest zone around the Delaney Center facility. State police has finally been brought in after we saw so many scuffles this week back and forth. Why did it take so long for this Democratic governor to bring in law enforcement?
Yeah, it's a great question. She should have done this really on day one. If you establish a protest zone.
Yeah, you always love, dude, it's great. You know the governor of a blue state is doing a great job when Fox News is like, well, you know, she's finally doing a great job. Why didn't she do this from the start? You know, that's how you know. That's how you know the governor has the constituents in mind with these decisions. Okay?
And then you have local police there that are enforcing that. That allows ICE, obviously, to withdraw a little bit. It allows them not to have their officers front and center, and local police can do that job. That's something that a lot of us, you know, for months had hoped Minneapolis would do during that in January and February.
Sounds like ICE is taking yet another L after shockingly failing to do anything but making a mess. What's it mean when NJSB recognizes the state patrol? Like the New Jersey State Police, okay, which is probably one of the most aggressive forms. I mean, it is the most aggressive form of law enforcement in the state, saying ICE was the one who was provoking violence and not the protesters, even though they said this. And then the next night, because this was yesterday, the next night, the state troopers themselves were the ones who were doing the violence. So, or sorry, last night they were the ones who were doing the violence, from what I understand, and today as well.
Focus is to allow
What's the ETA?
for peaceful assembly through the creation of these designated areas to assemble.
Mine is
and
closer. Mine is getting closer.
The impediments to our roadways, while
this is why I
de-escalating
also
tensions
ordered mine.
in these areas. Once we delineate these zones, our posture would then focus on maintaining a peaceful environment. It is also important to note that while we establish these zones, our local ICE agents and partners have agreed to remove themselves from the immediate area, decreasing potential agitation from the protesters. We will continue to monitor this environment, continue to keep our public safety in the forefront of everything we do, and provide a peaceful environment for all. Thank you.
Dude, he's a throat lozenge. My God, yeah.
They didn't do that. So it's good that the governor's coming to this. It's several days late, unfortunately. What you see there is these protests getting more and more violent.
We're back, and no, I'm gonna sit there. You sit here. It'll be fine. But we are. Yeah, microphone is gonna be on, and the camera's gonna be on in a second. I mean, this is not the best, but what are you gonna?
I saw people.
Okay. Okay. I can sit on it.
Do you have another room? Is there like a chair we could pull up from somewhere else?
No, I'll just sit on these pillows. So it's like, boom. There it is.
Go.
Look at that.
Good.
It worked out. Okay. Did you visit any strip malls favorites? No, that's not it. That's not. So the mic that you have on is what we're going to be using once. Did you connect it? Okay. Wait, The microphone is not connected. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's picking up now. Okay, we're good.
It's really loud though. Okay.
We're good now. No, it's fine. But it's on. It's not mono. It's not mono, and normally it's mono. I don't know why.
Well, let me check how it sounds for a shot. But give me 1 second. Let me change the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sound underwater. Oh. What? Left ear only.
Yeah. Go to.
Okay.
Go to the audio source here.
Uh-huh.
And go to the browser. Or click on it. Right click it.
Wait, this is not normal. There's
just right click. And then go to properties.
I know, but this is
sorry, not properties.
This is not advanced properties,
yeah,
but this is not normal or filters. No.
It's advanced audio properties.
Wait, why can't I? Where? No.
I can reconnect it. 1 second.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it. Hold on, chat. Oh God, everyone is complaining.
Go back to the Shure SM7B right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just keep using the Shure SM7B for now, and then eventually we're gonna fix it. Hold on. None pizza left audio. What does that even mean? Okay. 420 480p camera. I know. Oh, are you gonna give us the other mic? No. Oh. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Well, it's not working. It's just the microphone. This is what we're using, but I'm gonna swap it to our button mics. So these clip-on mics have always been a bit below par, and Haas needs to know that. Okay, calm down. No, it's not Austin Ox. It's someone else in the chat. Everyone's a backseat. Everyone is a backseat producer. Heard it work for a second when he unplugged? No, he didn't. Hold on, let's see. No, it's still. What the hell? Why is it fucking not? I think maybe it's not a Unify thing. I think it's a camera setting thing, maybe. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Yeah. Okay. Because I just checked it. I'm looking at it, and it's doing doing different sounds from different ears. Tech support, not your producer, dude. Yeah. What happened? What did you guys hear loud audio or something? Worked for a bit? No, it didn't. I'm turning on and off the audio level so you can hear it. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, it's fixed. Wait, what? What did you do?
I'm just goated.
It's good. What was it? It's good now.
I click a button on the button.
Okay, that's what happened. All right, so I was right. Some did change. Okay. If you put it back, and then I will.
Let me change the lighting really quick. It's not too cooked.
Okay. Can I turn on the camera?
Do it. Yeah.
Boom. There we go. There it is.
Too quiet or too dark? Oh, I'm turned up a little bit.
What is turned up? No, audio's fine.
No, lighting.
Oh, no, that's fine too. It looks fine.
Oh, okay.
It's also, yeah. All right, Dr. Adam Hamoudi.
Yes. Thank you for standing with us.
Yeah. thank you for participating in this process. It's there's always issues on live production. It happens, but so we went to the Delaney facility. You've been there already.
I've been there a few times. Yeah.
And how has the environment changed a little bit in your experience? Like, are there more people? Are there less people? Is there more? I feel like there's a lot of attention being paid to the story now. More so than before, as I guess the hunger strike worsens. Are there more people coming out now?
So there's more people, but I'm also seeing more agitators.
Yeah.
Today, it wasn't like, last week there was really just protesters there standing in solidarity with the detainees, but here, there was just a lot more people going and confronting them and causing problems and making the situation worse.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think when people don't understand the stakes, in my experience at least, when people don't understand the stakes of what is unfolding, or when they're so cynical that they don't even care about the inhumanity that's like taking shape 500 meters away from them, they just see this as a leg up, an opportunity to make a mark.
Right, and we saw that when we got there. I mean, I think we actually helped the protesters because we drew away this crowd of agitators away from them, and they got to protest in peace for a while, while they focused their attention on us.
It happens, but but ultimately, what we were there to do is like showcase the. We'll try to get a better understanding of what's exactly going on. So, as someone running for Congress, what is your suggestion in terms of like curbing back some of this stuff, whether it be ICE violence in general towards protesters exercising their First Amendment rights, or even accountability to ICE?
So, I mean, I've been running from the beginning that we need to abolish ICE, and this is a perfect example why. To have these for-profit detention centers that really are violating people's human rights, violating civil rights, really violating our Constitution by holding them in there without any, accused crime for prolonged periods of time. Cruel and unusual punishment inside with like food that has spoiled and worms coming out of it. They don't have proper medical attention, so we all heard about a woman that just had a miscarriage in there this week.
Yeah.
And there's diabetics. I heard of a paraplegic that was inside. They took away his wheelchair, took away his crutches. They said the crutches were weapons that could be used, and so he's in there, can't move, and basically in solitary confinement because they can't keep him in another facility.
What is that like the type of government overreach that we're seeing here, and the systematized version of violence? Does that remind you at all of like some of the experiences that you had working in conflict zones, and the way that like an occupying force would operate against what they declare as an enemy force?
Well, this is again an increasing, presence of fascism in this country, right? You call a state of an emergency, and that state of emergency then gives you an excuse to do whatever you want. And we've seen this like play out in so many dictatorships, and this is exactly what Trump is doing. He called this immigration emergency, which it wasn't an emergency. We don't have these criminals roaming the streets like he claims there are.
Yeah.
These are just our neighbors.
Well, there are criminals. There
are criminals.
They're
Yeah.
in D.C.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So that state of emergency gives you an excuse, not a good one, but an excuse to do whatever you want. And this is what. And this is a federal facility. I mean, the fact that we can't get federal oversight in there is again, why is that the fact? We have members of Congress that have tried to get in, that they aren't allowed to go in. The conditions we're told are horrible, and they say, if they disagree, then why aren't you letting anyone inside to take a look? I mean, this is, again, the same thing that these dictatorships have been doing, and for centuries all over the world. We see this, throughout the Middle East. We see this going on in Israel, and we are now taking that and putting it here in our country, and it's existed at a low level before under the waves, but now it's in broad daylight, and we are allowing it to happen.
Yeah, it's well, this is a question I asked you already, but do you support the organized movements that people are engaging in, like the organized action that people are engaging in, as far as like identifying when ICE Watch, identifying when ICE agents are in their neighborhoods, and even demonstrations such as this one?
I do. I mean, if it's a peaceful protest, peaceful demonstration, and if communities are organizing to help their neighbors, this is what happened in Nazi Germany, right? Like in Nazi Germany, people were organizing to help the Jewish community to be able to hide, right, and to protect them. And unfortunately, we are doing it now in this country to help our undocumented brothers and sisters, and it's not just undocumented. They are attacking documented immigrants. They're attacking U.S. citizens as well. So when we allow one group of people to be attacked, it's just a matter of time before it expands to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as what the actions of the state, like let's say you have a magic wand, like what would you do? You're Governor Mickey Sherrill. Like, what are some of the actions that she could be taking in this situation, and how would you rate her response so far? I know this is a little,
yeah, I mean,
it's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but I think it's so important to be on the ground. It's so easy to get information that is limited when you're just listening to one source. And from my experience, traveling all over the world, going to war zones, going to disaster zones, the story is always different when you are actually there. You know, the media can only give you so much information, and whatever report you have from whoever it is, it's always coming from one point of view. So as a leader, I think you should be on the ground. You should try to get access. Again, this is a federal facility, so she's limited to that. But this is when we should be able to have our, our senators and representatives to be able to get access in there as well. And they need to work together.
Yeah, and I think senators and congresspersons could like potentially demand access with the governor as well, which is what I think they've tried to do that. But instead of doing that, it seems like the governor has instead decided to cooperate with ICE in some capacity. And I know it's a situation that is chaotic, and you don't want more dangerous things to take place. You don't want people fighting one another. But my suggestion always is to make sure that the local law enforcement is there to actually protect the constituents rather than side with the federal government and side with the federal agencies.
Well, I think they should be a buffer. I mean, it's one thing when you go in there and you see them facing one direction against the crowd.
Yeah.
Versus you're standing in both directions and separate. And they were facing just the crowd. So that gives an impression right there, rather than going in as a peace force or a buffer zone to try to de-escalate. And then you go in there and you're working against, against both sides or with both sides to tell everyone to stand down. And it's just, the demeanor, the stance, that impression makes a huge difference.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you want to do in terms of accountability to ICE?
So I think the first thing we need to do is start holding hearings, exactly what is happening. When we take control over Congress, we're going to hold hearings of ICE. We want to hold hearings with the administration. Congress formed ICE. They did this back in 2003, and they have the ability to disband ICE as well. So, but not just hold hearings, but then you have accountability. So we have crimes that are being committed in front of our eyes every day, and unfortunately, they're not getting, prosecuted the way they should, and people are let go for crimes that are being committed. So we need a Department of Justice that actually administers real justice. And that might take a while for another administration to get passed, but at least we could start the process.
I feel like without that kind of accountability, without that kind of justice, people start losing sight of participating in organized democracy and recognizing that the systems are actually the system is actually intact and will still serve the interests of the population. When people lose confidence in that, I feel like chaos unfolds. And that's a much more devastating predicament that I don't think many people are thinking about at all. And certainly not this government. Or maybe this administration is actually banking on that happening so they can engage in even more rigid enforcement and more repression and state violence.
Right, it's almost like you're instigating it, and then when people are upset and they rise up and that chaos happens, then it gives you more excuse to push down.
Yeah, I will say, however, my experience in Minneapolis actually gave me a lot of confidence that this administration is still a paper tiger at the end of the day. I mean, they still need a popular mandate, and they know that they don't have it, because if they did, if they truly had a popular mandate, if they actually were, if they're genuinely popular, and the masses were backing them, then they wouldn't feel the need to subvert the democratic process as aggressively as they're entertaining. One of the things that they're trying to do is potentially even deploy ICE agents and at polling stations.
That's what I heard as well.
In the midterms, is this? What do you think about that?
Well, again, they are afraid of real democracy, because with real democracy they lose.
Yeah.
So deploying ICE agents, the gerrymandering that they've been doing all over the country to change the vote count, and then repealing like laws or turning over rulings that have been around for decades, really all just before the midterms to try to hold back the tide that they see is coming up against them. And if we don't all come out together, then we're not going to have a democracy. Because the only way that we fight this is to come out en masse, that everyone actually gets out to the polls, because they can't stop people when they come in waves. But when you have small groups coming in and you have ICE agents, it's a form of intimidation.
Yeah. Well, in the interim, I think coming out in waves and demonstrating is also very important as well, because I feel like there's no accountability whatsoever, or there's not even a reflection on whether certain actions the government's taking are popular or not. in the absence of any sort of counter demonstration, in the absence of any sort of demonstration at all. So it is still very important to go out there and show up and protest against these sorts of actions.
It's crazy that in a democracy where people are, when you're listening to the voice of the people, you have a certain group actually suppressing that voice. And it's clear that, the freedoms that they say that they want to defend, the freedoms that really are supposed to be what makes up this country and that they say that people hate us for, are exactly what they're fighting against. They're fighting against these freedoms.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, and thank you so much for coming down here as well, and participating in this alongside us. It was, it was a little bit chaotic, but I feel like we got to see it, and
we got to see it, and we got other people to see it as well. I think that's important because it's not getting the coverage that it needs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Adam. What can people do? I mean, we don't have much time left.
Yeah.
This is 3 days, right?
We got 3 days. Okay, so you could really vote tomorrow, and then you could vote on Tuesday. Okay, so Sunday the polls are open early. If you live in New Jersey, please get out to vote. And then Monday's off, like the polls are closed, and then Tuesday is primary day. Please go out to vote. You can make a difference. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you're in town or around the area, anywhere close by, please come out and canvass. We're canvassing all 3 days, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. And if you're not around the area, you could also help us by phone banking. And if you phone bank, just go to my website, hamoudi4nj.com, and then you could find and just sign up there. We'll tell you our canvassing, we'll tell you our phone banking, and we'll be calling people all till Tuesday night to get them out to vote, so that we could get someone like me into Congress, so that we could abolish ICE and we could get this country back on track.
Last question. Who do you have on Game 7? Spurs versus OKC Thunder?
I'll go with the Spurs.
Okay. All right. That's the right answer in my opinion. But all right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And everybody, that'll be all for today. And I will be traveling tomorrow, so I won't be live, but I'll be back on Monday. And I will see you then.